Plummeted to 14th in the East a year ago, winning only 25 games. But they have a new coach in Steve Clifford and exciting young players like Aaron Gordon who have big ambitions.
We're going to be tough every single game. You know, we're going to bring it every single game. There's going to be no nights off. We're going to give no team no passes. And when they see that they have Orlando on the schedule, they know they're going to have a fight.
A confident Aaron Gordon throwing down the gauntlet to the rest of the NBA, and he tips off our deep dive into the Orlando Magic. Rick Camlow with Greg Anthony, Hall of Famer Kevin McHale, and we'll have plenty of analysis on Orlando's best player throughout the show. But let's begin with their prize draft pick, Mo Bamba, who was taken with the 6th pick of the 2018 draft after one season with the Texas Longhorns. In GA, they trade away Bismack Biyombo. They obviously still have Vooch, but they trade away Biyombo to free up some time there for Mo Bamba. Is that how you see that?
Well, listen, you draft a guy that high, he is going to be a part of the rotation, especially on a team that's not projected to be a playoff team. And I think that Mo fits the modern big game. I mean, he's got tremendous length and athleticism. He can play in space. I think he's a much better offensive player than he had the opportunity to show while at Texas. And this is the kind of guy that I think the sky is the limit. He has as much of a ceiling as anybody that was drafted this past June. And it's just a matter of how long does it take him to get comfortable at this level, how long before he's physically strong enough to impose his will at this level. But from a talent standpoint and a work ethic, I think the kid's going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I like him too. You watch that little clip of him, and I'm watching him. He doesn't have the strength enough to go by anybody. Everything he does ends up with a pull-up. He's got to get enough strength to get down low, lower that shoulder, get that ball, and start using that length around the basket. I do like the fact he's got a nice touch. He doesn't have a defined game yet. He's not a post player. He's not a great enough shooter to say I'm a pick and pop guy. But he's just got to get better at a lot of different areas. But I liken him a little bit to Anthony Davis when Anthony Davis came out. Had a nice touch. Like when he shoots the ball, it tries to go in. Like a lot of guys, they shoot the ball, it can't get away from the rim fast enough. His ball hangs around there and tries to go, and he's got a nice soft touch. So I see him really improving and getting a lot better. I like him on the defensive end right now, way better. He can block shots, he can move his feet, he's thin. So he's got a lot of room to grow, but I like his potential.
So, and you guys follow it, we all follow it, what happens in the pre-draft process. And one of the big bits of buzz was the improved shooting of Mo Bamba and all the work that he was putting in with Drew Hanlon. There were videos out on Twitter about, him stroking shot after shot. Talk about that. And did you see a difference in Mo Bamba from his time at Texas and then with that work with Drew Hanlon?
Absolutely. Now, full disclosure, Mo played with my son in high school a couple years ago before he went to Texas. And so I got to see firsthand his development. And the thing about a kid like Mo Bamba is it's not whether or not he can do something now, it's whether or not he has the ability to do it later, much like Anthony Davis. And that's what's impressive about him. He's got the capacity to continue to improve. The guy who I think of more, not that he plays the same way, but from a growth standpoint, is Giannis. Because Giannis was a really raw player when he came into the league. Nobody could necessarily see him emerging to become what he has. And I think on the front line, not that he's going to be a facilitator, but I think that Mo Bamba could develop that way on your front line. Because I think he can be a terrific shot blocker. I think he's going to be able to score with his back to the basket. But I think also he can consistently make a 15 to 17 footer. So I do think if I'm Orlando, I'm excited about the prospects with the improvement of Gordon. As well. I think their future for the first time in a long time, there's a reason to be optimistic if you're an Orlando Magic fan.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, he's got to improve, but everybody's got to improve around him, too. Like you talked about Gordon. Gordon, to me, has got to become just a really consistent guy. He does the highlight film stuff. He goes up and he makes some dunks. He has 2 or 3 plays a game that you go, man. But you know what? To win in this league, you got to make 40, 50 plays that are just solid. Drive, kick, throw it to this guy. Make the right pass, make the right play, shoot, knock down open shots when you got it, and develop a game. Like Gordon's the same way. Where are you going to play him all the time? Is he a pick and pop? Is he a pick and roll? He can do a little bit of everything, but he's got his game team's just got to get tighter, and the whole team has got to get tighter. They've got to improve. They've got a long way to go, but they do have some hope, like you say, looking at some of their players.
They do. They have some intriguing pieces, no doubt about it. So, with all due respect to Nikola Vucevic and to Mo Bamba, Aaron Gordon is the undisputed face of this franchise, and the Magic confirmed that in the offseason, giving him a 4-year, $84 million contract. But AG is still determined to get a lot better on the court.
I got to bring it every night. Coach Cliff was telling me, some nights I would bring it if it was an all-star or if it was a first team, second team, third team type player. But if it wasn't, then I wouldn't bring it. I'd be taking the nights off. So every night I got to bring it. To me, I got a defensive rebound better. And one thing that I talked about, he didn't really care about so much. I feel like I need to up my steals, the amount of steals, the off-ball steals that I get.
So let's take a look at the year-by-year improvement for Aaron Gordon, going from 5 to 9 to 13 to 17 last year with the scoring. The three-point shooting still a work in progress, but he got in the 30s last year at 33.6%. So what is next, GA and Kevin, for Aaron Gordon?
I think what Kevin talked about, he almost doubled his three-point attempts. Which, you want your best player to be able to shoot the three, but I think he can be so dynamic and put so much pressure on the defense if he attacks more. I'd like to see him play more like Giannis in terms of trying to put pressure on the defense, getting to the rim, getting your team in the penalty. I think he's got that ability. I felt, even though he improved the jump shot, I felt he fell in love with his jump shot a year ago. And if you're going to be the face of a franchise, to Kevin's point, you've got to be consistent at every facet. Yeah. Your team has to know what they can rely upon when you take the floor. Your jump shot can't dictate your impact on the game. And I thought you saw also his rebounding improve, over a couple assists a game. So he's trending in the right direction. I think he's got a chance to be an all-star in this league, and this will be a big year for him in terms of taking that next step.
Yeah, then you got to get a spot on the floor where the coach feels comfortable giving you balls to close out game. Is it the elbow? Is it right elbow, right box, left box? Where is it? So you got to define your game a little bit tighter when you're the face of the franchise, so the coach can come out and design something for you. And so I just think he's just got to get better. I mean, he's a young guy, he's improving, steady, but he's got to find his spots on the floor where he's really effective. When I say spots on the floor, that's I throw you the ball at a spot on the floor, and the opposing coach says, oh no, he's going to get a really good shot unless I bring help. This guy's really good from the right elbow, left, wherever it is. And that forces the defense to, to make compensations and run people at you. That's his next level, becoming a great player on a playoff team.
And GA, to your point, 2 threes made last year on 5.9 attempts. That is a high volume for a guy who's slated to play power forward. But in 2 seasons as the Orlando head coach, Frank Vogel posted a 54-110 record. He was replaced by that man, Steve Clifford, who spent the past 5 seasons in Charlotte. It's a return engagement of sorts for Cliff, who served as an assistant under Stan Van Gundy in Orlando from 2007 to 2012, including their trip to the NBA Finals. Is Cliff the right coach to turn Orlando's fortunes around?
I like the hire in part because I think he's going to help them improve defensively, which oftentimes with a really young team is the hardest thing for them to commit to. Young man we didn't talk about, Jonathan Isaacs, who's also, I thought, showed some flashes this summer. Didn't really have an impact a season ago, but I think he's ready to kind of help solidify that front line as well. They're going to have their struggles, but I do think they're going to be an improved basketball team. And listen, I think Clifford inherited a similar situation in Charlotte. Young team, unproven, got them in the postseason. I think you could see this team starting to trend in that direction this season.
Yeah, I like the fact that their best player, Gordon, came out and said the coach challenged me to play hard all the time. I mean, that's the first thing you got to do. I mean, I hate like heck to hear a player say that coach had to challenge me to play hard all the time. But it's also Clifford is addressing things head on, where it's like, hey, you got to play harder. You got to do this. You got to do that. I think he's going to be straightforward with the guys, get them to play hard every single night, get them to go out there and get after it. Offensively, sometimes with Steve, I watch his teams play, and I'm like, a little bit more creativity, maybe a little bit more push, a little bit more pace in the game, but I like him as a coach.
So we'll see how that works out. Congratulations to Coach Cliff on a nice soft landing in Orlando. And we are just getting started on the Orlando Magic preview show. Coming up, we will break down the rest of the roster, including sharpshooting wingman Evan Fournier. prolific young man, as you will find out now, because Ro Parrish caught up with Mo at Orlando's Media Day and asked him about joining a franchise with a history of famous big men.
You look at the track record of our organization, you know, you got Dwight and you got Shaq, obviously. And if my career can go anything as well as theirs, then I'd be doing something pretty special.
So speaking of special, we know draft night was special for you. You've been able to be drafted into the NBA. You've got settled in Orlando. Now tell me how that whole process has been, and are you comfortable so far now that you're in a new city?
Oh, absolutely. I've just kind of gained my grounds with the city and just kind of, you know, figured out where things were. And getting settled was actually pretty easy.
Orlando hasn't made the playoffs in the last 6 seasons. What is it going to take for you guys to make that leap and get into the postseason?
It's going to take a level of togetherness. You know, I haven't played an NBA game yet, but I know whenever a unit is all synced in mentally, it goes a long ways.
So let's talk about wingspans for a second. We know that when you extend your arms, it's probably about 9 feet. We know the situation right now. You have Jonathan Isaacs down there with you. His wingspan is 7'10". So is it safe to say that you two have rim protection on lock in Orlando?
I mean, we have the tools to be great rim protectors. It's just a matter of getting out there and doing it.
So since Summer League, what are some of the things that you've worked on individually to improve your game going into your first season?
Oh, I've gotten a ton of reps up in my jump shot, and you know, one of the things that I did to play in the NBA was improve the pace of my jump shot and my mechanics. Because a lot of it in pre-draft was just working on mechanics and just mastering, you know, what the perfect form for me looks like. And now it's just a matter of, you know, making it game speed so I can get my shot off over and in front of anyone.
So how comfortable are you with Coach Clifford's system, and how much have you been able to get acclimated before training camp starts?
Oh, we've had these optional workouts all September long, and you know, everyone's been in, and apparently it's a rarity in the NBA. But everyone's been in, everyone's been at it, and you know, it's just so we can gain our grounds before training camp even starts. We kind of hit the ground running.
So now you're going to be a teammate of a movie star in Aaron Gordon. We saw him this summer make his film debut. How has it been like working with him?
Oh, it's been awesome. You know, Aaron is a very supportive guy, but you know, he gets at it, and you kind of develop that same attitude from him, whether if it's in a weight room, whether if it's on a court, or wherever.
So in order to win the Rookie of the Year, I need you to finish this sentence. Mo Bamba needs to do what to win Rookie of the Year?
Have impact. If you look back at all of the guys who were Rookie of the Years, they had immediate impact in the league.
And time will tell about Mo Bamba. Here is a look at our projected depth chart for the Magic. They added point guard Jaren Grant in a 3-team trade during the offseason. Jonathan Simmons and Terrence Ross give Steve Clifford 2 explosive guards to rotate. And forward Jonathan Isaac, and I say forward because is he a 4, is he a 3? We'll find out. But he enters his second season after being drafted 6th overall back in 2017. Rick Kamla, Greg Anthony, and Kevin McHale. And Mac, in our previous segment, you talked about the importance of Aaron Gordon finding his sweet spots on the floor and what Steve Clifford can do as the head coach to help him find those. Well, you're a coach, you're a GM, you're a Hall of Famer. Let's tap into your brain. Where do you think could and should be his sweet spots on the floor?
He's a combo guy to me. He's a combo 3-4. So he's going to play against smaller guys. He's going to play against bigger guys. But everything works in the same areas. He should be a guy. Now, I'm not sure, like I said, you got to work with him. Is it right elbow? Is it left elbow? But he's got to be a guy that can get the ball 1 dribble away from his sweet spot, 1 dribble away from getting a great shot. I don't like him out at the 3-point line or where you're in 2 and 3 dribbles away. It's got to be like if Greg's guarding me and we run a little high post up here, I got to be able to get the ball, rip hard, get that ball out in front of me hard, end up in here, and then going up for a shot 1 dribble away, finishing at the rim. And in here, I'd like to see him be a 1 dribble attack guy. Because against smaller guys, you 1 dribble attack, they move their feet, you shoot over the top of them, you're bigger. The bigger, slower guys, 1 dribble attack, spin, get to the rim, try to get fouled. And so his working area, I would like to see the 1 dribble out. So he's always catching the ball 12, 14 feet from the basket.
Well, one thing I would say, a couple things. One, I look at him and I said, listen, with your athletic ability and your skill set, you've got to get 6 to 8 free throws a game. So that's the first thing he's got to do. Secondly, he's got to understand what a good shot is for him. And a lot of times with young players, and Kevin knows this, like you're always trying to prove what you can do. And you end up doing a lot of things you don't do well.
Yeah.
And we've seen that even with him thus far. So to Kevin's point, find out where your sweet spots are. Find out where your areas are where you know you can make the play that needs to be made. But I think if he focuses on those areas, I would like to see his three-point shooting come down. 6 threes a game from him, I think, is a lot. If he's around 4 and his free throws go up 4, now I think he's going to have a bigger impact. His team's going to be better as well. Why? Because those extra threes, when you're not making them, those are runouts. All right, when you get those extra free throws, we get to set our defense, right? Like those are important elements to his development as a player, understanding if he's going to be their leading scorer, his shot selection is going to be critical. It's going to be really important, and his ability to get to the stripe and help get his team in the penalty. So those are things, if I'm Steve Clifford and that coaching staff, when we went and watched and broke down film, I bet you 30% of his shots were shots he probably shouldn't have taken. And so he's got to learn that aspect in terms of growing.
And when you're in the penalty, the easiest way to get to the line is hard driving, because you can't put a hand on anybody anymore. So you get the ball up here in these areas, and you reverse pivot, and I come at you hard. You can get to the line in the penalty without ever shooting the ball. This is, you go by me, I hand check you, it's 2 free throws. He's got to get a lot more of that. So he's got to get those points that come easier for him. Everything can't be a struggle for the young fella.
Mo Bamba, 6'10" wingspan. We know what that's going to do for rim. 7'10" wingspan.
Yeah.
Pardon me. We know what that's going to do for rim protection. But what other areas of his game can that help?
Well, it helps in his ability to switch out on perimeter players. One thing that amazed me about this guy, he will block three-point shots. We've seen it with Clint Capella.
Yeah.
He is difficult for good guards to get by because of his length and lateral quickness. And as he gets stronger and more comfortable, he's going to be a real terror out on that perimeter, and it's going to create a lot of options for Steve Clifford and that coaching staff defensively.
As a long arm guy myself, helps right here. When I get that ball here and I go up and you're shooting over the top of people, you extend, it's hard to get up and challenge it. So what you do, once you get comfortable, he was talking about getting the speed of his shot and all that stuff, but once you get comfortable, you understand that when you extend and get up here, you got a clean look. The guy's not going to block it. So there's a comfort level in having long arms and being able to have that ball at a high release point.
I know a lot of people, what was your wingspan, or what is your wingspan?
I'm like 7'5", 7'6".
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you saying bring it on, Mo Bamba?
Yeah, where
is
you
that
at,
what you're
Mo
saying?
Bamba? I'm too old for Mo Bamba.
Well, hey, check out Mo Bamba playing Pop-A-Shot with a youngster, and oh, come on, that's not fair. He didn't need the 7'10" wingspan
I
for
like that. Look at this slide. Ooh, there you go. Nice block. Sneaky.
Jay, what do you think about that?
Oh, man. That's
Is that dirty pool right there?
A little bit. But you know what? I like the competitor in it.
Yeah, exactly.
He high-fived the kid after.
Yeah.
So here are the starters with more on Aaron Gordon.
Trey Kirby and Tas Melis of the starters here for your next point on the Orlando Magic. True or false, Trey? Aaron Gordon will be an all-star this year.
Unfortunately, I'm going false. I do think he has the talent of an all-star, but he probably won't be an all-star until he has a really solid point guard alongside him that can let him play to his strengths, get him the ball for some easy shots, maybe get some catch-and-shoot opportunities, and allow him, most of all, to be a secondary playmaker. Aaron Gordon is a very good passer, but I don't think he is necessarily the off-the-bounce creator that you want from a number one guy. If he's able to attack a defense that's already moving, he would really thrive in that scenario. That being said, the Magic are coming into the season with DJ Augustin and Jaren Grant as their point guards, guys who are more caretakers than real table setters. I think once Aaron Gordon gets a guy who's going to be able to provide for him rather than him having to do everything, that's when we'll see him in an all-star game.
I agree. I think you put it well. It's false, mainly because of the conditions around him, because Aaron Gordon does have the talent, as you mentioned. Also, the continuity just hasn't been there with the Orlando Magic, just constantly changing at the head coaching position. Now, Steve Clifford in there, hopefully this is a start for him, where he plays the right position. He's got a coach for several years, and then he can finally show that talent. But the Magic are going to have to overachieve big time when those all-star coaches or the coaches get their votes and then they look down at that ballot. Are the Magic going to be at 5th or 6th for Aaron Gordon to get some nods? Because there's just so many good teams at the top of the East that have a lot of good forwards on them. And you see a bunch of them here. Giannis and Embiid are locks. You see them at the bottom there. I assume Kawhi's a lock. If you get up to Al Horford or Hayward or Tatum, you probably have a couple Celtics. The Magic are going to have to be to me like a 4 or 5 or 6 seed.
Yeah, they had a good start last year through 12 games, but it was only through 12 games. Maybe if they can do that through 40 games, then we'll be talking about Aaron Gordon and the All-Star game, not just the dunk contest.
All right, that is it for us. More on the Orlando Magic coming up. If you want more of the starters, check us out weeknights throughout the entire season here on NBA TV.
Tass and Trey, you guys rock. Still to come on the Magic Preview Show, Kevin and Jay offer their predictions for the upcoming season in Orlando. Those City games this year, they have not made the playoffs since 2012, and they haven't had an All-Star since 2012. And, of course, that was Dwight Howard. Kamla, Anthony, and McHale. And, guys, incumbent center Nikola Vucevic comes off another fine season. 16-9-3 were his stats, roughly. But he enters the final year of his contract. The Athletic is already reporting that he's expected to be available on the trade market. So does he even make it to the All-Star break or the trade deadline in this uniform?
Well, he probably was on the trade market in June when they drafted Mo Bamba. I do think that you're going to see him made available. What'll be interesting and what teams are going to be interested in him. Yeah, he did show an ability to shoot the three, but can he defend in space? When you think about the modern game and the elite teams, their bigs have that ability. So I'm anxious to see what teams are going to show a lot of interest in the young man.
Yeah, I think he's a nice piece on a team. He's not going to be a guy that you're going to trade for and say we're building around him. He's going to be, I think a lot of playoff teams would like to have him on their roster.
So let's go more or less on the Orlando Magic. You going with a high number? Or you going 31.5? You going more or less than that?
I'm going to go less. I think they still haven't proven themselves to have an established player that's ready to lead them in those big moments. Fournier, I do think, is a little underrated. I think Gordon's improving. But because those other young guys haven't established themselves in this league, it's going to be a challenge for them.
Yeah, I'm going to go under also. I think, Mo Bamba is going to be a very good player, but not so much this year. This next year. I just think they can build around Gordon and Bamba, so their future's bright. But I think they're going to struggle a little bit this year.
Interesting. Well, they've had the 6th overall pick the last 2 years. I know Magic fans are hoping for a little bit worse pick, which means more results during the regular season. But we'll see how it all plays out, and we will be clocking all year long on NBA TV. Good luck.